All right, welcome back. Other than the Moody's downgrade, the talk of the town all weekend had been the audio of Biden's interview with Robert Hur about those classified documents. You remember that, right? He had trouble recalling when he was in office and when Trump was actually even elected. He also, unfortunately, seemed to confuse himself about when his son, Beau, actually died. But something really doesn't add up here, right? This is where I'm coming from, right? His doctors have really not been forthcoming when it comes to the president's mental acuity. We've all talked about that, and we still are. Could it be the case that this diagnosis of cancer was also held back? Now, with this type of cancer, it moves first to the lymph nodes. This is prostate cancer, and then ultimately to the bones. To add fuel to the fire, there was this headline earlier this morning. Our leading oncologist, which in the States they call him America's oncologist, his name is Dr. Zeke Emanuel. He made the bombshell announcement on MSNBC's Morning Joe this morning saying Biden, quote unquote, did not develop prostate cancer in the last 100 or 200 days. He had it while he was president, and Emanuel insisted, and he probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, I think there's no disagreement about that, is what he said. Wow. All I can say is that's pretty amazing. I wanted to get the thoughts of my next guest on this subject. Please welcome to the show, Rebecca Walser. Now, Rebecca, I know you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor either. And it's not about dementia. And this isn't really about prostate. It's about keeping the truth from the American public. And this is a sensitive subject. I'm not kicking a guy down that's got a cancer diagnosis or sort of mental acuity issues. But what I am not happy about is the fact that we're the last to know. And it seems as though there's a concerted effort to keep it from us. What say you?
This is a game changer. This is a game changer, and it needs to be a wake-up call for the American public. I've always not understood how we could have, and this is not to be funny. I'm not being funny here. I'm not making a joke here. How we could have the Easter Bunny directing the president of the United States when he's receiving children at the White House on Easter Sunday or that weekend, and no one in the media says, what's wrong? What's going on? Let's call it out. So in other words, the media obfuscated for the most amount of time I've ever seen anything like it. He's walking stage left when he turns around and has to walk off stage right. Just everything that he did that clearly showed that his mental clarity, the note cards with the names of the reporters, the questions to pre-ask that we got pictures of, that we saw him always holding and clinging to. So it's one thing that the media, which is we consider separate, independent, outside of control, an entire media organization of the United States of America, hiding that fact is something that most Americans could maybe say, well, maybe they had a vested interest or they just thought it would be better for the country or whatever. But this is a game changer, Scott, because this is something different. This is a medical exam that, for the people out there that have read that you don't get normally prostate exams, PSA exams past 70, you have to understand this is the president of the United States. They have a medical doctor assigned. They have a litany and a barrage of tests to make sure that this person has the mental and physical acuity to be the person that is in charge of our nuclear weapons. And so this is internal, Scott. This is an internal decision. I'm not a doctor, but I can speak to the facts. His Gleason score has been reported as a 9. That indicates bone metastasis. That is a 5 to 10 year development under the cancer prostate wing, as I understand from urology. So what we're talking about is something that is at least a 5-year scenario under normal circumstances. Maybe it's super aggressive, maybe it's 3 years, but whatever the term is, it's not the last 100 or 200 days, to your point about Zeke Emanuel and saying that this morning. And that is the game changer. This was intentionally held back from the American public, and so much so that his own doctor again said that he was fit to run again for a second term and serve.
That's the biggie. That is the biggie, right? And I don't mean to interrupt, but look, and again, I know I'm going to get hate mail. That's okay, but it's not about the prognosis of the prostate cancer or the mental acuity issues with dementia. It's about us not having that information, which we deserve the right to have. And then on top of it, them making plans on top of it to keep the information from the U.S. general public, and then have him and set him up to run again. I don't understand. It's unbelievable.
But you're answering my question on why this is a game changer. Who made these decisions? This is indicative of some kind of shadow government. It cannot be Joe Biden's administration and the Joe Biden people that came in, because these things get announced during the actual campaign. These medical tests, these fit for office, all of these things happen. There was a clearly a decision made to keep this from the American people, not only during the administration, prior to his first election, and even going into the second election. So this now is making me really suspect that there is a shadow level of government that ran his presidency, and we as an American public get to know who those people are. We get to find out, because we are a republic that elects our representatives. They are accountable to us. And when we get hard, concrete evidence and facts and proof that they are no longer accountable to us, that they are making decisions that are in their best interest and treating us like we're redheaded stepchildren that can't handle the truth and don't know who to elect and who should run our country, then we know that our country is, it's a usurpation. Where is the actual republic that we live in? It's not here. This is not a republic. This is not it. This is other groups deciding who and what should know this information about the president of the United States. It's unacceptable, and it really leads to much deeper and much more disturbing questions.
It does. And so to your point, they're unelected, whomever they were, that are making these decisions. And it brings into question all the things that were decided in that administration, at least going back the last 2 years, right? So I don't want to do it because it's scary if you think about it, but all the big decisions that had to have been made over the last 24, 36 months. Afghanistan's in there. Think about all those big deals and you think, wow, how much really was kept from us and who was actually making the decisions. 10 seconds to you before we go.
Yeah, I just think that the American public will do itself the biggest disservice to just let this story get buried and not do anything about it. This is the time that the citizens have to rise up and say, no, you are and will be accountable to us. We are a republic. We haven't been taken over. We're not run by an elitist group of unelected bureaucrats. And this is proving that we are, and something has got to change. And thank God we have an administration in there that is at least willing to drive to get to the truth of transparency.
Awesome to have you on. Thank you very much for taking the time, Rebecca. You've got a lot of big fans here. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Rebecca Walser coming to us.